I'm in the dark here!
This is an Oscar-winning performance.
You understand? I'm in the dark!
In just a few seconds, sadness, anger, despair were portrayed to perfection. The man's name is Frank. He was once a renowned lieutenant colonel in the army, but lost his sight in an accident. After being forced to retire, he could only stay at his niece's house. From then on, he shut himself away in a dark storage room. One day, his niece had to go out of town, so she found a temporary caregiver. Just 2 days of work for $300. For Charlie, who was working his way through school, this was a considerable income, but the other party made several special requests. First, don't call him sir. Second, don't help him when he can't stand up. These strange rules left Charlie very puzzled, but Charlie's first words were addressing him incorrectly. Sure enough, Frank flew into a rage at Charlie. Then, he mercilessly kicked Charlie out. Charlie also tactfully left. He thought he couldn't handle this job, but the lady of the house sincerely begged him to stay. So he found Frank again. This time Frank didn't chase him away. Instead, he told him to pack his bags and come with him to New York. After Charlie packed according to instructions, he instinctively tried to help him, but was pushed away. On the plane, Frank flirted with the flight attendant. Just by the scent of her perfume, he accurately guessed her name. Soon the two arrived at their destination, New York. Frank had already reserved the best hotel and restaurant here. Charlie was shocked by the prices on the menu. He didn't understand where Frank got so much money. The lieutenant colonel told him this was his disability compensation he'd saved for a long time. This trip was to stay at the best hotel, drink the most expensive wine, then visit his brother, and spend a wonderful evening with a gorgeous woman, finally lie in the hotel bed, and end his life. The next day, Frank put on a brand new coat and took Charlie to visit his brother whom he hadn't seen in a long time. However, the family didn't seem to welcome them. Their words were full of contempt and mockery, while Frank also spoke frivolously. During dinner, he talked about his glorious achievements again. His nephew finally started fighting back. He said Charlie was a fool who saw Frank as a hero. It turned out Frank was once the general's chosen successor. Because of a drunken mistake, he accidentally pulled a grenade pin during training. That's how he lost his sight. In his nephew's eyes, Frank wasn't any kind of war hero. Facing his nephew's cutting words, Frank didn't get angry until the other party turned on Charlie beside him.
You get the point, Jackie?
His name is Charles.
The supposedly warm family gathering was completely ruined. Before leaving, Frank quietly said goodbye to his brother.
Goodbye, Willie. I'm no fucking good.
The next day, the two returned to the restaurant for dinner. A sweet fragrance drifted from behind them. Charlie turned to look. It was a beautiful woman. Frank sensed Charlie's inner excitement, so he took him forward to strike up a conversation, while demonstrating some high-end pickup skills. A round of witty and humorous flirting made the girl lower her guard. Then Frank, with his keen sense of smell, accurately identified the perfume the girl was wearing. This amazed the girl. Seeing the timing was right, Frank politely invited the girl to dance, so she took Frank's arm and walked into the center of the dance floor, with the passionate and melodious music and elegant yet passionate dance steps beneath their feet. Old Frank's eyes seemed to shine with light once again. In that moment, he even forgot the fact that he was blind. When the dance ended, the girl's boyfriend hurried over, ending this brief but wonderful encounter. That evening, arranged by a luxury car driver, Frank fulfilled his final wish, spending a wonderful evening with a gorgeous woman. However, when it was all over, Frank's face was filled with endless emptiness and loneliness. The next day, well into the afternoon, Charlie knocked on the door and found Frank collapsed on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling with lifeless eyes. Frank had now completed all his wishes and naturally lost the desire to live. He told Charlie to take the $400 he deserved from his wallet, then leave this place. Charlie kept encouraging Frank, hoping he would pull himself together. Frank remained unmoved. Suddenly he remembered Frank had once said he loved sports cars, so they rented a Ferrari. The two drove the sports car through the streets, but Frank in the passenger seat was still listless. So Charlie drove into a secluded alley and let Frank take the driver's seat. When the steering wheel was back in his hands, Frank once again found that long-lost sense of control. At first he drove slowly, but as the speed increased, the roar of the engine gradually excited him. Charlie beside him urged him to slow down, but Frank was now unstoppable. Not only didn't he reduce speed, he even wanted Charlie to act as navigator, to help him complete a high-speed drift ahead. After racing through several blocks, police sirens suddenly sounded behind them. Frank pulled the car over. Charlie was extremely nervous. Frank told him to stay calm. He would handle everything else. When the police came to the car to question them, Frank listened to identify their position, looked up pretending to make eye contact with the police. Finally, Out of respect for the lieutenant colonel's rank, the police decided to let them go. The crisis was finally resolved. The tense emotions relaxed, but then Charlie said the wrong thing.
Get out of the car, because you are not driving anymore, all right?
Just keeping this baby warm, that's it. I'm not driving anymore.
In an instant, Frank's emotions plunged to rock bottom again. While waiting at a red light, he suddenly lost emotional control, recklessly rushed into the rushing traffic. He walked forward with determination. Frank, crossing through traffic, stumbled and fell beside a garbage can. Charlie quickly went forward to help him up. Frank returned to the hotel in a daze. Then he told Charlie he had a headache, asked him to go downstairs to buy some aspirin. Charlie didn't think anything was wrong, but when he got downstairs, a strong sense of unease suddenly washed over him. He hurried back to check the room. At this point, Frank had already put on his military uniform covered with medals, and a weapon was lying on the table. Charlie seized the moment, rushed forward in one swift move, trying to take the weapon from Frank's hands. Under Charlie's comfort, Frank finally gave up his plan. When all the crisis was resolved, this brave young man finally couldn't control his tears. No one knew what kind of pressure he had just endured. Facing a stranger he'd only known for 3 days, he was even willing to risk his life to save the other person. And this is humanity's most precious and shining quality: courage and kindness.